This is Will Moore interviewing Gurjit Gill at his home in New Oscott, Birmingham on the 30th of May 2018. Gurjit was born in Nairobi, Kenya on the 4th of July 1960 and moved to Pakawal in the Punjab aged 2. He moved to Birmingham in 1988. Could you tell me a little bit about the place that you were born?
Right. As far as I'm remembered, actually, I was only 2 years old when I left the place. It's Nairobi in East Africa, in Kenya. So I was born on 4th of July, as you mentioned already, at Nairobi, Kenya, yes.
And do you have any memory of moving to India?
No, not at all, to be honest. I always actually heard it from my brothers, my sister, and my mom and dad, because I was only 2 years old. I can't recall anything actually about Nairobi.
What do you know about the process of moving to India?
Right. My dad used to work for British Army first. Then he went into civil engineering, British administration. When he got retired in 1962, so he planned to bring the family to England. And obviously, I was only 2 years old. The rest of the family came to England in 1962. Because I was too young, so I had to go with him. And as far as they've told me, the first time we went from Nairobi to India, Bombay, we went by ship. The service was there, airline was there, but it's very expensive. People used to travel by ship. So I think it took, if I'm not wrong, took us nearly 21, 22 days getting from Nairobi to Bombay. So that's how much I know actually how we went from Nairobi to India.
So, what are some of your earliest memories?
Right, okay. When I went to India, obviously, as you mentioned, we ended up at my ancestral village in Punjab called Pakowal. So the earliest memory I remember when I was put into a government primary school there. I remember actually I was around I think 4 years old. So that's where actually I started remembering things. Actually 4 years old, went to government school, then started. Problem I was having because I was speaking English because I went from Africa. I ended up in a purely Punjabi school. So that's the start of my memories actually when I went to the village, yeah.
And then tell me a little bit about school in Pakawal.
Right. School, it was a secondary school, like up to GCSEs. I studied there from class, because I had a very good English when I went from Africa to India. So the teachers assessed me, they actually put me 2 years ahead. So that's my first memory. Then obviously I did my 10th class, which is GCSEs from there. So that's about the school basically. I studied 10 years actually at that school doing equivalent to GCSEs.
And could you describe the village for me?
Village, right. As a young person, very like a child, I would say, not even a young person, because I didn't remember anything about Africa. Well, while in the village, I got blended into whatever it was. Wasn't very clean. I used to play football right the way from my childhood to my university days. So I remember playing actually barefooted in the village. The main things I would remember about the village is the people they used to be so close to each other. We used to play together actually, and the families were very, very close. But it wasn't very clean though.
And did you have a lot of family in the village with you?
I did have actually few of my cousins, a couple of my uncles there. Because my dad never lived, most of the time he lived in Africa. So we were not very closely knitted because it was that much gap actually. But yes, we did have actually a couple of families in the village. My uncles and not the first cousins, but obviously within the extended family, yeah.
And what led to your family moving to Kenya?
Right. As far as I know, actually, my dad used to tell me when I went into college, university, then I started asking questions. Why did we move to Kenya? What was the need of moving to? My grandfather was a skilled carpenter. In 1938, he moved there to work as a carpenter. Then my dad, obviously, he was quite young, moved with my grandfather. Then obviously, we were all born in Kenya at different places.
Could you tell me a little bit more about your family history?
Yes, interesting actually. When I started realizing, remembering things, I was 4 to 5 years old. My grandfather used to do carpentry. He was back in India at that time in 1963, 66. So, and my grandmother used to give me few like 10 paisa it's called. I remember that actually still now. That if I compare it, it's 0.001 penny of our currency actually. And we used to go down and buy sweets. And she used to love me a lot actually because I was from abroad. I was given always a preference as a child in the family that I'm from Africa, and the rest of the family is from India. So it was quite good. And there used to be fairs actually in India. They do have fairs, religious fairs in areas, and we used to have one every year. And she used to give me 1 rupee, which was a lot of money at that time to spend, to be honest. And I used to buy a lot of stuff with 1 rupee. So no, it was good to be with grandparents. Then they passed away, obviously, after a few years. Yeah.
What would you spend your rupee on?
I've got a sweet tooth, to be honest. I still actually like eating sweets. I used to spend actually on Indian sweets, actually mainly. Yeah.
And then could you tell me a little bit more about your education, so through to high school?
Yes, at Pakhowal, at the government school, I passed my 10th, which is GCSE, and I wasn't very highly intelligent, but I was intelligent there, and I came actually, I think it was 90th in the whole state, like in the West Midlands. So from there, I decided to join in the college. I did we used to call it pre-engineering, which is A-levels here. Did my A-levels from one of the colleges not far from there. Used to travel by cycle, on a bicycle. So after I did that, I couldn't get a place in degree there. It was very, very tough in 1970s because Punjab had only 3 engineering colleges. So then I joined actually to do my HND level in mechanical engineering. And after that, actually, once I completed 3 years HND, then my main aim was, because my dad was a civil engineer, he was pushing me to be engineer. You must be graduated. And then I did actually postgraduate diploma in production engineering from another place, which is Chandigarh, which is capital of Punjab. So it didn't stop there. Then my brother started sending me some money to support me from here. So I was in hostels, studying actually 7 to 8 years. I was in boarding. So then I went to another place, to university. It's called Thapari University, to do my engineering. And I didn't finish that. Then I got a job as a supervisor in one of the industries. So then I left my education. Yeah.
So tell me about your job in the industry.
Right. The reason I left my degree from the university, a friend of mine, we studied together all the way through school, college. He had a job. It was an automotive foundry, very modern foundry, called DCM, Daily Cloth Mill Engineering Products. They used to make cylinder blocks, cylinder parts, castings for all tractors and cars. So he carried on pushing me that I'm spending money on attaining a degree, and he's earning money at the factory. So he did help me actually. He did guide me to get the job. So I started as a trainee supervisor in 1982. 81, sorry. Tell a lie, 81. Then I stayed there for 7 years until I left for England. So I was there actually. When I left, I was a quality control engineer in a foundry.
So tell me about the process of you moving to England.
Right. It's a bit complicated. I didn't want to move into England because I had a very good job. I could see actually within years I'll be a manager, then I'll become a general manager, I'll move up. And it was because it was one of the modern automotive foundry, so I could see the route I'm going to follow. But my family in England, my brothers, my sisters, I was the only one back home with my mom and dad. They carried on saying, "We're all in England. Why don't you move to England?" 1979, my dad actually applied for it used to be called special quota voucher because I had the British passport because I was actually in British colony in Nairobi. I was born in, so I had British overseas citizenship. So I had the British passport. So dad applied for a visa in 1979. Took 7 years to obtain the visa because the government was giving visa actually to very few people, overseas people. So 1987, I was given the visa to come in permanently. So December 1987, then moved into England in 1988.
And tell me about your experience, what you got once you got to England.
Right. During the period of 1982 and 1987, because I was working, I got married in India. I had my both daughters born in India as well. So the experience you're asking about, the reason I mentioned the family, it wasn't a very good experience when I walked in. Because I came from India with a very good job. I could see my route actually moving, got married, had kids there. Sooner we landed here, few days were excellent with my brothers actually because they met me after so many years. So they're looking after me. So we felt really good. But after, it was London. One of my brother lives in Birmingham. So he said, like, we'll move to Birmingham. So we moved to Birmingham. First a couple of months was excellent. Then they won't let me apply for a job. They said, don't worry about it. You're just new. We look after you. So we're going out, drinking and loving it. But after a couple of months, I started thinking, I studied that much in India. I must not be wasting my time. So I started applying for jobs. So the experience about response to the applications was very negative. I must have applied for 10, 15 jobs. At that time, internet wasn't actually that popular. It was newspapers. I'm talking about 1988. So the response wasn't positive. But now I realize they were right. They were saying, actually, you've done your studies in India, but you have got no experience in this country. Sorry, we can't give you engineer's job. So that wasn't a very good positive experience. But that's how I felt when I started, yeah.
And tell me about the work that you managed to find in the end.
Right. We were sitting at Bristol at one of my relations' place, and I was very frustrated. I even at some point said to my brother, I'm going to go back to India. With the family, with two little kids. Kids can't speak, the daughters can't speak proper English. I had never had a problem with English because my medium of study was English all the way through. So we were sitting there actually, and one of the guys said, are you looking for a job? I said, yes. He said, he used to work for British Steel. He says, come tomorrow morning and fill the form in. I filled the form in. It was in Erdington, Birmingham. Filled the form in. And I put everything, what I did actually back home in India. And obviously they gave me the job to work online, to grind the tubes. So that was my first job when I started, yeah.
And how long did you stay in that job for?
Not very long. Thursday, I started on Monday. I used to grind the tubes, and the things I used to manage, I was actually using it with my hands, and and I wasn't used to it. I was just pen pusher, in theory, yeah, in India. Wednesday, started on Monday. Wednesday, I had seen holes in my socks because when I was grinding the tubes, actually sparks were going into my socks. Came back to my brother's place. Said to him, I'm leaving, and I'm going to go back to India. So then, coincidentally, I went back to job on Monday, and they went through my CV, the details actually I put in there, actually what I did, what's my college. And one of the managers asked me, actually, can you read computers? I said, No problem. Can you read graphs? No problem. So they put me in an area where somebody was missing, just to go around and read the graphs in the furnaces, and every hour you have to sign it that it's functioning all right. So my job became easy and something I love to do rather than grinding tubes. I stayed there for 8 months, I think. Then they gave me team leader's job there. I was managing the area, which was only 3 people I was managing, to be honest. Carried on applying the jobs, and I ended up getting job at Rover Cars. Used to be at Longbridge, not anymore. So went for interview. They gave me the job as engine assembler. Now I was studying, getting a bit confident that I can move up. But I was very confident even at that time. It was only a couple of years. They offered me a job as engine assembler. I wrote them, actually there was no emails at that time, not many, but I didn't have the email at the time. I wrote them a letter saying, can you offer me a job off the track? They told me to get off. They said, there are people waiting for the jobs. Have it or leave it. I said, I'm going to leave it. The difference between British Steel job and the Rover job was, I was earning bringing home £107 from British Steel. From Rover, it was going to be 189. It was double. But I actually chose not to actually work on the track. I said, 107, good enough for me. I'll try again. So then I carried on trying. I ended up having a job at Land Rover then, Solihull. But I put in the form, which nowadays they'll throw your form actually in the bin. I will, if I'm employing somebody. I put it in there to be considered only for off-the-track jobs. So when I was interviewed, the guy was a HR manager after that, John Herman. First question he asked me, why did you put that in there? That's where the interview started from. I said, actually, there's a reason for it. He says, what's the reason? You need a job and we can put you anywhere. I said, the reason is, actually, I've got qualification from India. I worked 7 years in a foundry as an engineer. I know I can contribute more than just actually putting the screws on the car. They gave me the job. They said, fair enough, like your confidence. And they gave me a job in the heat treatment section and I loved it. That was my line, because I was in a foundry in India. So it was sort of, actually, it's a similar line. So I had a job as an operator at Solihull in 1990 in the heat treatment section, yeah.
And how long did you stay there for?
Long time. Because I loved my job, to be honest. It was only operator job, but I loved actually doing it. Then BMW took over, not BMW, BMW took over and they advertised the supervisor job. They called it team leaders. So I went for it. I got the job. I became team leaders in 3 years. Then I moved up as a process manager, line manager, and process leader. I worked there until 2006 and loved my job. I still love Land Rover.
So what are some of your interests outside of work?
Right. While even at working in engineering production, obviously I was a production manager, I had from India actually, I used to play football. And at some point, one of my friends actually died in an accident. And I started organizing a football tournament on his name. And that became very big. It became like in Midlands area. So I had sports interests to start with. Along with sports, I was very much actually committed, even in India, to do community work. Within the factory, I used to work with the workers, attend functions. So over here, actually, I started teaching my own language in 1991. Soon I got a stable job at Land Rover. So I started teaching that on voluntary basis at one of the schools in Erdington. So that's one of the things I started with.
Can you tell me a bit more about other community work that you've been involved with?
Right, okay. This school actually, we were teaching Punjabi. Though I'm not a qualified graduate in the language, but I had a very good command of my own language. So what I thought, when I moved into this country, my nieces and nephews were not speaking our language at all. So I've been very thinking strongly that it is good to progress and go anywhere in the world, but keeping your own language, speaking your own language actually is very important so that you can keep the ties with your community and the culture and obviously your place of ancestors, yeah. So we started this school, I started teaching, my wife started teaching. It started with one class, then we had 5 classes. Then I was given another school in Small Heath. Then I got involved with that school, managed that school. Then I started managing. So we had, at one time, I had 5 community schools I was managing. Erdington, Small Heath, Handsworth. Along with that, something else came up. Birmingham City Council used to give an amount of funding to the language supplementary schools. And when I became a member of actually that network, then I started meeting up with Urdu speaking people, Gujarati, Tamil, Persian, um, uh, all sort of different languages, to be honest. And at that time, but later on, it came like Polish, Latvian, and all different languages. Somalian came quite late. But at that time, it was like Gujarati, Urdu, Punjabi, English people used to teach. And I was one of the lead in Birmingham City Council of that network. And we used to meet up every other month, actually discuss other cultural issues, what issues you've got in mosque, what issues you got actually in teaching Urdu, how do you teach. So yeah, I got involved with all these communities teaching across, and we used to have 110 supplementary schools in the network. And it was a very good experience mixing with different communities rather than only Punjabi or Sikh community. So that's where I actually, it was all voluntary, it wasn't paid, but we used to go down to different schools to give them guidance. Then we started training the teachers afterwards as well on health and safety and other things. Actually, we got involved with different, not only Punjabi community, I would say most of the communities living in Birmingham.
It's interesting. You you talk about language as sort of a link to culture.
Yes.
Could you describe how you found it moving to England and sort of the change in culture?
To me, it wasn't that much. I didn't actually find that much difference for the reason because I was actually all over the place in India. I was actually studying in boarding schools. I was speaking English. I was learning English. The only very first day, I asked my nephew to take me to do. They used to call it the DHSS at that time. Now it's DWP, I think, to get my national insurance number. I just actually asked him, "Can you please come with me?" Because my accent is going to be proper Indian accent. Obviously, it's a different accent there. I still got that accent anyway. I said, "Can you come with me actually so that we can complete the form? Then I can get my national insurance number." When I went there, I felt so comfortable. The people were so accommodating. I did actually mention to them, I came from India yesterday or day before. This is my 3rd day in this country, but I can speak English. I can understand English. I've got no issue with it because my boss was English in India, so his accent was no problem to understand. It was easy. John Michael Davidson was my boss in India. So I personally felt comfortable with the language to start with. When we started meeting up, obviously with different cultures, I found actually some of the community, my own community people, are still back in 40s, though living in England, they're still living in 40s because we moved really fast back home, studied, we moved up, and the family was well established. So I was expecting that everybody to be really there. But when I used to sit with older people or elderly people, I was still thinking these people are talking about like my grandparents. So that's the only thing I found. Then mixing with different cultures, it's a different experience. With when we used to have meeting with especially Urdu teaching people, it's completely different. The only thing I found amazing in India, in Punjab, I've never seen ladies wearing hijab because they don't. When I came over here, I started thinking, why do we have to? It's a modern 20th century modern country in the world. Why do we have to actually wear these things? But because I never seen that over there, to be honest, in my time. So that's a bit of difference I've noticed. Nothing much, to be honest. But
So,
generally I was okay. Generally I got blended in first few years. Yeah.
so you'd say that you felt welcomed and comfortable when you moved to England?
I would say yes. I would say yes. Wherever I went, actually, to be honest, in any office, I did few trainings at the start. If any classes at any college, I was given a lot of support. I felt very welcome at that point. Yeah.
And what about your daughter's and your wife's experience of moving to England?
Slightly different than mine because I was well matured. I was 27 years old, 7 years job experience in education. Wife struggled with the English because she never spoke English in India. She didn't actually study. She did study English as a subject, but not as a medium for other subjects. Girls, I had actually my elder daughter was 5 years old. The younger one was only 8 years. Well, first day we took her to school. Obviously, she couldn't understand English, though she went few months to one of the English schools, but she wasn't that good at English. She was very frustrated. She couldn't understand anything. So we had to bring her back home after half a day. But next day she went there. Then the teachers realized, again, welcoming is the question. They did actually accommodate her very well. They just gave her something to play. The second day, she was so happy. She wanted to go to school on third day. Since then, she never looked back. So yeah, that's initially there was a bit of shock change for them, not for me. Then after that, it went okay. But wife always experienced problem with the language, speaking, responding, and understanding it.
And was there support from sort of the Indian community in Birmingham when you moved over here?
Lot of support, lot of. Most I didn't have any friends over here. Obviously, I had a lot of relations. My cousins, my brothers, my sister. There was a lot of support. When we were planning to, I set up my goals when I came in 1988. That if I'm going to stay in this country, this is what I'm going to achieve. So I set up my first goal that I'm going to pass my actually driving test within the next 12 months, which actually my brother supported me a lot with that. His friend was a driving instructor. Though I was getting frustrated at certain time, making big mistakes while learning, because I didn't like to stay here in the first 6 months. And he supported me so much. He says, "Don't worry, it is like that when you come into a new country, especially when you're mature, and it is difficult." He actually did support me a lot. Then when I did pass my test after, within 12 months, which made me feel good. Then I planned that I'm going to buy my house within the next 3 years, and I bought my first house in 1990, 92, sorry. So which again actually wasn't that bad, to be honest. So carried on setting goals, achieving it. So it started me to feel good. Yeah.
At what point did you decide that you were going to stay in England permanently?
I said, there's an example I can give you actually, how frustrated I was at the start. We were sitting and having drink, and one of my relations, when we had a couple of drinks, I got a bit tipsy. Said to him, "Uncle Ji, sooner I have £3,000, I'm going to go back." He says, "Why?" He says, I said, £3,000 makes 300,000 rupees. I'm going to fix that in the bank over there. I'm going to have my job back. My job is going to be good, and I'll have a bit of money to carry on. But if I'm going to carry on working actually on the track or on the machine, not my way of living life. So he said to me, answering your question, he said to me, everybody feels like that when they come into this country or any new country, but once you're settled, you would never go back. I still remember him. He's passed away. Remember him. When I got a job at Land Rover, then I decided, now I can move forward. I could see the culture. I could see the people. They're actually accepting me. Studied in India, born in Africa. proper Indian accent, giving me supervisor role on people who has worked in British Army for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, and I was managing them, and that made me feel very good. That what a community to work with. That's when I decided to stay. Yeah,
And so you said you bought your first house in 1990.
92, I think
92.
it was. Yeah.
How long did you stay in that house for?
Right. Again, being very ambitious, my plan was now I've got the house, got a very good job, and kids actually going into a decent school. I bought that house actually, which was run down. Because even before that, actually, sporting community sport, that's another thing come out now. Just remembered when I was learning the driving, I was very stressed. My instructor said, "What do you used to do in India?" I says, "I was a production engineer." He says, "Can you do some drawings?" I said, "Minor problem." He says, "My brother-in-law is an architect. Can you do a bit of work with him?" I said, "I'll do voluntary. I don't need no money, but I'll work." I worked with him actually for a few months, doing. We used to do submarines drawings, and he had a contract. So he used to explain me. I used to do it. He said to me, he says, "Gurjit, when you buy your house, I'm going to buy you a house which has to be done completely from scratch to save you money because you're very enthusiastic." Then we bought a house which was completely run down, and he guided me to renovate the whole house. That was after 4 years we came from India. And my wife and me, we used to go to work in the evening, at the weekends. We used to do stripping. We got an electrician to rewire the house, and we stripped everything, and we got the house really nice. Even working with him, I got the extension drawing passed myself. Never knew nothing about actually how to get it passed, but he did help me. So then I said to my wife in '94, I says, "The house is nicely done now. The kids are settled. We got a good job. I'm going to put it on sale." I put it on sale. It sold within 2 weeks. So that motivated me again. Now we're going to move into a decent house. So that's when we stayed up till '94 into that house and moved from there into Sutton. Yeah. That was after 6 years I came into this country. Moved from Erdington to Sutton. Yeah.
So could you tell me a bit more about your work in languages and your interest in that?
Okay. While I was working at Land Rover, obviously I was teaching. I managed to get a job called a visiting tutor job. Perhaps you're aware of that, being in education, with South Birmingham College. Then obviously I got myself qualified as a adult teacher, which is City and Gales 7307 stage 1 and 2, which is a year and a half training. So and I started teaching GCSEs, then A levels, then I became examiner. Started taking exams, speaking exams of the language. Then it didn't stop; it carried on and on. Obviously, I must have taught with the college for nine years, which helped me with a bit of money coming in, and it was my field, obviously. At the same time, I was teaching at college, working at Land Rover, managing one of the school in Smallheath, managing one of the school in Erdington, and supporting Sikh temples. We got quite a few Sikh temples in Birmingham. We got around 26 in Birmingham, and I was supporting the teachers there and telling them how to teach, especially about health and safety. So I'm doing till date now. Since then, yeah. And you're going to ask me about daughters, yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit more about your daughters?
Yes, very proud to tell you the stories about, obviously, my daughters. So one obviously started primary school, nursery when we came in. The other one was only 8 months old. Then they went into primary school in Erdington. Then we moved, '94, we moved into Sutton. So they went into New Oxford School here. That was another thing actually, because they were quite sharp in studies. That was my next target. Obviously, I had actually the driving test passed, good job, good house. Moved the house within 4 years, buying the first one. Then the next target was actually to get them good education. So both of them they passed 11 plus. When the elder one, Ritu, her name is, she passed 11 plus. I actually bought I was in the process of buying a new house just by Land Rover where I was working. I was trying to save driving nearly 45 minutes from here, from Erdington. Because she got into grammar school, Certain Girls Grammar School, we sat together, me and my wife. What do we do? Do we buy a house near to my office or do we buy a house near to her school? It was just nearly we were going to exchange contracts. Then we decided to drop that house and bought this house so that it's convenient for her to go to the school. She went to grammar school, then the younger one got into grammar school. They both did A levels from Certain Girls Grammar. And my elder daughter was a head girl there as well. She's very sporty. She played hockey. She attended England camp. She played for West Midlands, and played for England as well, under 18, against South Africa. And she was quite sporty. She was West Midlands champion in orienteering, chess, along with studies. So eventually, after A levels, she wanted to be a doctor all the time, which I'd never said to her. Actually, I said, whatever you like. She used to buy actually toys to do with the doctors when she was younger. She was that obsessed with. So she managed to get a place at Birmingham University in medicine. Completed medicine from there, and she's a trainee consultant. She's going to be a consultant next year now. Specialty in plastic surgery. Yeah. And the younger one, again very intelligent, went to the same school, did A levels, had very good results, got a place in medicine, didn't want to do it. She said, actually, I don't want to be a doctor. She went to do physiotherapy from Leicester University, completed physiotherapy, started jobs. She's working she's been promoted now as a manager at Heartlands Hospital. She's manager of physio department, and the other one is at Liverpool. So they're both working, both found partners, both married, still young. So that's where we are with them.
So you were involved with a campaign to get languages reinstated at A level. Could you tell me a little bit about that, please?
Yes, I've been actually really interested in teaching and language, and for the young generation to learn the language. Because both my daughters actually, they did GCSE in Punjabi, they did A levels in Punjabi as well, and they fluently speak Punjabi. They read and write Punjabi. What does happen actually? Because I was actually one of the lead in Birmingham supplementary schools where we used to teach different languages. 2011, Birmingham City Council stopped the funding. Then came after that in 2015, the government said actually we are not getting enough students to fund actually for not only Punjabi. I think there were around 9-10 languages, including Gujarati, Persian, Urdu, and Punjabi, that we cannot carry on actually providing this qualification. AQA basically. The examination board, you must have heard of it. They said actually to DFE, Department of Further Education, that it's not viable for us to carry on these A levels because we are not attracting enough number of students to pay us the fee, which I completely disagreed with that. The reason I disagreed with that each because we in England we are living so closely in closely knitted communities with different languages, with different cultures, and each person has got right, if it is already there, to pursue their actually interest in qualifications in language if it's already there. Then I actually got in touch with I call him my mentor, Dr. Nagra. He has written actually 33 Punjabi books, qualification books. He started Punjabi in late 1960s in England. Actually, got it approved, then GCSE, then A level. I got in touch with him. I said to him, I said, we must do something about this. Then we got all the educationalists actually, who are at universities. We made it a campaign group called. I named it actually as Alag. Alag in Punjabi is different. In Punjabi, Alag word is a different. It stood for A level action group. So basically, It was A level in there, action was there, and it was a group, and we used to call it Alag. We launched that actually in April 2015. Then we formed groups in all the cities in England. We went up to Glasgow, and we got everybody behind us. Not only that, actually, my local MP, Andrew Mitchells, was behind me. There was a MP from Wolverhampton, McFadden, and there was one MP from Hayes, got together with us. Local councillor was with us. So basically, we started lobbying with DFE and the Department of Education. And eventually, they started thinking about it. They came up with three things. One, we haven't got enough number of students. We haven't got actually qualified teachers. And the government is changing all A levels. You might remember in 2015 they reformed all the A levels. Then we worked together and we came up with a solution to them three, increasing the numbers, training the teachers. I actually had no interest in being examiner for AQA. I applied for a job. I got the job to be examiner. I said, here, you got another examiner. So Nikki Morgan was the education minister, and she promised us that if Conservative do win the election in 2016, was it? 2016, that we will keep not only Punjabi, we'll keep all the languages. Because it was scientifically proved if you speak more than one language, you enhance your normal study more than a child who does speak only one language. It has been actually proved, which we obviously, it's on the internet. If you speak more than one language, if you learn more than one language, it enhances your normal career education better. So we were actually given, they agreed that we're going to keep A levels, and it's starting actually this year, the new syllabus, and we're well pleased. And after that, it didn't finish there. We have actually registered an organization called PET, Punjabi Education Teacher Training. Now we're going to go to supplementary schools and train all the teachers to maintain good standard, so that the government actually approve you as a good source of teaching as well. That's how it was actually, campaign was run.
So you've been in Birmingham for 30 years now. Could you tell me some of your thoughts on the city?
I always think very high about Birmingham city. Reasons. Because my relations live all over the place. My sister lives in Southampton. One of my brother lives in London. Few of my uncles live in Leicester. So I happen to go all across the country. Another actually hobby I had from India, to go around places, because I'm always interested in actually learning about different culture. See how do they operate, how do they work, how do they speak, how do they actually speak to you actually as a different person. Give you an example for that. Actually, in the last 30 years, I've flown only once direct flight. I do fly a lot, a couple of 3 times a year sometimes, but I always fly with the stoppage. Wife doesn't like it. Some people doesn't like it. They just onto the plane after your destination. I hate that. I always book a flight which must stop somewhere, and I must actually see how different culture, different country, different people work. And I used to stop at Dubai all the time. Now I stop at Doha, Finland, Paris. Now we're going to go to Canada as well. It's just about learning. When I actually did that, actually for the last 20 years or 30 years, I've been flying. Then when I come back to Birmingham, though, I start actually comparing. When I stopped at actually Amsterdam once, I was there for a night, went around. Then we went to Brussels, then we went to Düsseldorf, then we went to Berlin, went to Frankfurt. Then I start comparing with actually Birmingham people and the people I was actually with last day. So basically, coming back to how I felt about cultural, I'm trying to compare actually internationally Birmingham with international culture. I always say to my kids, actually, with my daughters and my wife, one of the best place to live in. The only other place I actually rate actually next to Birmingham is Holland. Because when we went to Germany, different culture, didn't feel comfortable. Went to France, didn't feel comfortable. Went into the pub, didn't like it. You walk into any pub in Birmingham, people you feel welcoming. People join with you. This is about the social side. When you actually even know, in normally Birmingham have got such a rich culture of different religions, different people from all over the world. Especially we've seen in last 10 years, people coming from Latvia, Romania, Bulgaria, Poland. Now you can see how people have welcomed them actually, made them feel comfortable. So the reason I can say Birmingham is one of the best places to live in. One, it's a multicultural city, and you'll see people actually from different cultures at different levels. The doctors, they're engineers, they're police people, policemen, they're lecturers. They are actually in hospitals, doctors. So it's nothing feels me uncomfortable living in Birmingham, and especially when you talk to different cultures. I never experienced nobody actually insulting me, to be honest. Perhaps I'm lucky, but I always felt very good talking to anybody.
Would you say that Birmingham's home?
Yes, definitely. But I still go to India though, a couple of 3 times in India. The reason for that is I've got nobody in India. I've got no relations living in India. It's only my in-laws, my wives. But my friends actually, they never came out of India because they've got very good jobs. Most of them, they are very highly placed now. They didn't want to come out of India. So I just go down to see. But home is Birmingham. Definitely.
What's your relationship with India now?
Just with my friends, to be honest. I've got few places there. I built actually a nice place for my daughters. I wanted my daughters to stay in connection with our culture. So we built especially nice bungalow, good standard as over here. And I used to take them every year, 6 weeks. I used to have a little Suzuki there. So you used to take them around so that they understand actually that culture as well. That's my relationship. I still want to be related with my own background as well. Though home is Birmingham, yeah.
And you have some involvement with local politics. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, while I was actually working with the community, obviously, then I was meeting up with people, like especially in the campaigns, I met up with actually MPs, councillors, ministers, had meetings. Then I was inspired. I was actually asked, why don't I actually get involved with, because you're into community work, why don't you get involved with the politics? For the reason, if you want to get something done, actually, you need somebody sitting in that chair to raise your concern. So not very directly to be elected actually in an election, but I've been supporting councillors. My local councillor Rob Pocock is a quite good person. I've been supporting them actually in election, just for the reason that I find them actually they're doing a good job. So perhaps in the future actually I'll maybe actually get involved more seriously. Yeah.
So you might be a local councillor yourself.
You never know. I might get the job. Yes, thank you.
So could you teach us a little bit of Punjabi?
Definitely, yes. With my experience of 25 years teaching and managing Punjabi, I can teach you a few things, but I'm going to teach you good things, not bad things. When you greet how would you greet actually me in English if you actually see me first time? How would you say?
Hello.
You'll say hello. We'll say Sat Shri Akal. Let's practice it. Sat Shri Akal.
Sat Shri Akal.
Let's make it better. Sat Shri Akal.
Sat Shri Akal.
Excellent. Well done. And how would you actually say goodbye in? You say goodbye actually.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Okay. When you say goodbye in English, then you say again Sat Shri Akal. And what about good morning? You say good morning. If I say how to say good morning, then it's same again. Sat Shri Akal. If you want to, if I've done something for you, what would you say to me?
Say thank you.
You say thank you in English. In Punjabi, you'll say Tanwad.
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 Excellent. Now you've learned 2 words to say hello and thank you. Can you remember what was?
Sashtikral?
No,
No.
slightly you have to change it. Sat Shri Akal.
Sat Shri Akal.
What was thank you?
I've forgotten.
Right, Tanwad.
Tanwad.
Let me repeat it again. You'll remember it then. Tanwad.
Tanwad.
So what would you say in thank you?
Tanwad.
Yeah, Tanwad and Sat Shri Akal.
Sat Shri
Now
Akal.
you've learned two words, which is good to say to greet people, and after that you can say Tanwad. You can use it directly at your office if you speak to any Punjabi person. Okay.